So he drank, and the other one's not there.
I've seen Brian with the beer in his hand.
Oh my God, they stayed at wait my.
Well, he used to drink.
So wasted, and I was so afraid of them because I was like, oh, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna fucking hate me. And they stayed over at Sean and Mark's room, that place where they filmed that show. And I was so drunk, he and carried me upstairs.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're gonna freeze to death. I'm on, we live in LA.
Yeah, you could pass out on the lawn, no problem.
He's getting a Coca-Cola bottle tattooed to his arm.
The roadie hugged you.
And I
we were
want to
just
add
getting
this.
freaking
He had some
hammered.
tears in
That's
his eyes.
funny.
It was very painful.
And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. He doesn't know. Come on.
I'm gonna take the show you. We're gonna cross out all the H's.
He was a Coke addict. Yeah.
And Minor Threat.
Ian's very funny. Anybody ever get to see Minor Threat back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're incredible live. They're incredible live. Like when they would play in New York, I see them a bunch of times, but they played Irving Plaza, and just like everybody would come on stage, and instead of diving off, they'd be like, I'm just gonna stand over here by the amp. And within like the first 3 songs, 3/4 of the crowd was just on the fucking stage.
It was the only city in the country that they didn't sell out because they just didn't have the market.
Do you remember the name of the place?
That's entertainment.
That's Entertainment. And it was like it looked like a place you would have a wedding at.
Yeah.
Wooden floors, mirrored walls, very clean, and chandeliers. And we played with Gangrene. And when we started playing, the crowd went absolutely fucking nuts. They were stage diving, they were slam dancing. The whole entire crowd was one big mosh pit. The owner was freaking out. I don't think he's ever seen a hardcore show before. Like 2 songs in, he gets on stage with a microphone. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna stop the show if you guys don't calm down and stop diving off the stage." Well, you tell a bunch of punk rockers that, what are they gonna do? They're gonna fucking work, which they did.
Encouragement.
Yeah. So he came up a couple more times, in like with the threats of shutting off the show. People were like, "Well, fuck you." So he got his bouncers, the security, to bring a wooden ladder and stand in front of the stage holding ladder like a barricade. The kids took the ladder, broke it into fucking pieces, like bashing it on the walls and stuff, into pieces. They're stage diving even more now. And I'm a drummer. I'm looking out, I got a bird's eye view, and I look out, there's a guy swinging on the chandelier like a monkey. And I was like, these Vegas people have some fucking energy, man.
They needed some.
That was 85.
Okay, yeah, that's funny.
85.
What year did you see Iggy Pop at?
That's probably 87. You ever hear of Calamity Jane's?
I've never heard of Calamity Jane.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
A little
that.
place on
Boulder Highway.
Boulder Highway across the
They
shore.
had-
Okay.
Cameron and Beethoven played there.
Not County Crows, but the Black
We
Crows.
saw quite a few bands, but Iggy Pop played there with Alice in Chains opening.
Yeah, Cameron and Beethoven played there. By the way, the venue that this was back, that is now Chengdu Taste, or Sichuan Taste on Schiff Boulevard. So if you want to see where the show took place,
Where's it at?
it's a Chinese restaurant on Schiff.
Ship. Huh.
Damien died.
What's that?
Yep.
That's crazy. That's good to hear. That's cool.
It's crazy.
At least they're doing something with the place.
Come here, died here.
Who?
Damien from LAS-SMF-LAS.
I don't know about them. I'm sure.
I feel like I was living in the streets with the Anyways.
Bad Boys. I seen them
Beer.
Irving Plaza, but I was tripping on mescaline, and there were too many people there, so I went downstairs. We did play with
Man, I
them
would have died
at
to see
the
it.
last show's CBT booth. So we played with the Dead Boys, and
Flipper?
Stiff was gone.
They had his leather jacket hanging on stage on the microphone stand.
And Cheetah sang the song.
And Cheetah sang, yeah.
Wow.
And the funny thing about
Wow,
that show
that's
is
a wow for
it was
me.
sold out. There were people came from all over the world for that show because the Dead Boys hadn't played it forever.
We're talking back in
This
New
was,
York?
Yeah, in New York City when they're trying to save CBGBs. It was like the concert benefits to save.
Here's me looking at here.
This was, what do you think, 2005, right?
0506.
And the Dead Boys started playing, and their drummer, Johnny Blitz, had an issue with the drum seat. And he got so pissed off, and he's like, takes the seat, and he's like breaking on the ground. And he walks off stage after like 2 songs. Now, people came from all over the world to see the Dead Boys do a full set. 2 songs, he's gone. And we're like, well, that was kind of weird. What's going to happen? And it took like 25 minutes of the rest of the band trying to talk him into playing again, and he finally came out. And they finished his
This is a 4-speed
But I do have a good
camera.
stiff
It's just in this.
I've gone to see the Dead Boys.
Wow.
This is what I
One of
do
the
at the
first
concerts,
reunion tours. Like
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
because they allow it.
And me and my friend Mike, who was a band called The Skulls, and the UP's manager Ed had gone. And Mike used to be the Dead Boys roadie. So he had a hit. They used to call him Mongo, because he looked like the guy in Blazing Saddles that punched the horse. So like he walked into the club and the whole Dead Boys like, Mongo! They're all freaking out. But I got to bring Stiv with his girlfriend Cynthia to a 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee in the Honda Civic. And that was like the punk rock dream right there, man. It's like, that's one of those stories like I'll never forget. He was a nice guy. He's like very soft spoken. And really good. Favorite Slurpee. Nola Slurpee. Really enjoyed it.
Harley Flanagan, emulator and Chromax. When I was 17 years old, my girlfriend turned 17. It was her birthday. What did she want? So me, Dave, and another friend. I'm 17. Dave's 15. We drive out to Massachusetts.
I just remember one time they
And
made
it's
it sound
New York.
like a
So did he really
No,
call
I'm
me that
talking
way?
about the friends.
Nobody proves it. I mean, I could have been like 5 and served the alcohol.
We
was I
walked in,
talking
there's
to?
this little kids.
Oh, and then maybe.
Harley Flanagan was 12 years old. And, you know, we go up to play pinball, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, what's this machine?" We're like, "Holy shit, we just played pinball with the drummer from the studio." Because we were big fans. But, yeah, that was Harley.
And that's how old he was when he was.
Yep, these shots are from that era that we were at. Could have even been the same show. I had like 13 or 14. The second show I saw back in the city, I went to with the singer of the Paul, and we saw the Bad Brains with the Stimulator Joker. Now I heard Clash before.
Did you? That's cool.
Mark and Brian, are you from LA?
No, I'm from Sacramento.
LAS had these DJs called Mark and Brian.
Yeah, down to there.
They used to have
So I really didn't know
drive-in theater. Where you go, they pick a drive-in theater, you go watch a movie, and they did Land on Outer Space, and they got
Oh, cool.
go there. And so I found where she was at, and I sat there. I had a Satan's Cheerleaders 45, where she did a spoken word on it.
Oh, neat.
And so
Did you get her to
I
sign it?
I did, and I can't fucking find it. I'm so
Oh, that
pissed.
sucks.
But I sat with her and I told her how much I loved her because I'm a total horror movie fan, especially like vampires. And I told her how wonderful she made me sit with her the whole night. We watched the movie together and she held my hand.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's so nice when your heroes are down to the,
Yeah.
you know.
She was like a at the time.
I never saw a singer just like so animated on stage for like the hour that they played. It was like, it was mind blowing. And after that ride home, I was like, we need to start a hardcore band like this. This is what we need to do. That's pretty much how we started, because we wanted to be as fast as we had. You know? I had no idea how to fucking play it. Have this now.
We were lucky enough to open for the Bad Brains in '82 Pittsburgh.
Yes, in New Jersey. They didn't play New Jersey a lot, so it was kind of a cool show. And a friend of mine, Steve Cosmano, who was one of the early punks in my band, handed HR a American flag, and he set it on fire. It freaked out the management of the place. Like, they're threatening to shut the show down. But it was an amazing, amazing show. You see, the Bad Brains back in the day, I don't know if anybody got to see them in the 80s. They were like in another league from everybody. I mean, they were such accomplished musicians. They were basically a jazz band that figured out how to play hardcore punk back before there was hardcore punk, you know? And like thinking back on how fast they were at the time, how tight they were.
And yes, we did smoke weed with them after the show.
Yeah, I was a straight edge kid. I never did that shit, and the bass player was passing around a big joint, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now. And I think I took like a Bill Clinton in hell. I don't even think I really smoked. But yeah, they were very fun people to live. So this is Debbie Harry's shirt that you see in the picture here.
How would you know about it?
I remember that picture for years. This Ramones poster came here, this was like from the 70s, he came here from Mexico. And the fact that it's still even presentable like this, yeah, is amazing. It's amazing.
I was lucky enough to meet Dee Dee Ramone in the 90s when I was playing with in a band called the Kowalskis. Somebody introduced me to that, and he talked to me all night. And he used to hang out at Coney Island High, and I played there all the time. And every time he see me, he would call me over, sit me down, you know, until we talked about bullshit and stuff. The first conversation I had with him, he was starting a job next week. And he asked me how he could get through sitting in one place for 8 hours. Because I don't think he ever had a job before.
Think about like the fact that Dee Dee Ramone has to find a job at the time. When you think about how many bands they influenced and the legacy that the Ramones left. Were definitely ratings last year. And after shows, he would always go back to their apartment. One day, me, guitar player for AOD, and our friend Adrenalin had all were hanging out in the apartment, and Joey was there. And the guitar player for AOD was the first one to pass out. And Joey took his empty beer can and started doing it at our guitar player. So he wakes up, and then Joey's the next one to pass out. And it's like, oh, we'll talk with him. So Greg from Racing Slab had 2 separate phone lines in his apartment. He's like, I got an idea. And he goes into the room, he brings one of the phones, he puts it right by Joey's ear. And he goes into the other room and says, when I say now, call this number. Now, he takes a tube of toothpaste. He pulls up Joey's shirt and he squeezes the entire tube of toothpaste on Joey's stomach while he's asleep. Then the phone rings. And everybody in the room is like, Joey, wake up, it's for you! And Joey wakes up groggy, he's like, what? And he takes his hand and he rubs his hair and all the toothpaste in his hair was sticking straight up. And everybody's laughing, what? And then he peels his head and says, you fuckers! And he had to go into their shower and wash it off. It's like that was the first time I've ever seen Joey look like a member of like GBH. His hair sticking straight up. So let's see. Over here, we got, on this side, this is the Lodi, New Jersey side of the room with the Misfits. We grew up in towns that bordered Lodi. The Misfits in our day, back in like 79 and 80, they were like our Beatles. Nobody had their records really, except for record collectors, outside of the New Jersey, New York area. They weren't well known back then. I mean, I've seen the Misfits play in front of like 30 people, you know? And I was lucky enough to get invited to a rehearsal with Singer Video. And we were probably, as far as I know, I was the only person that ever had the foresight to record a Misfits rehearsal. This is back in 1980 when Arthur Dugan was a drummer, and they were learning new songs, which were Mine Can I Go Out Until Tonight and Queen Was. Now I recorded this, and I had this cassette, and I traded it with all my friends. I mean, I made copies for them. But eventually, my personal copy got stolen out of my car when somebody broke into my car and took my cassettes. Hadn't heard, yeah, right? So I hadn't heard this for years. And then once the internet was a thing, I did a internet search, Misfits pit rehearsals, because they called the garage the pit. And that's where they rehearsed, Jerry and Doyle's garage at their parents' house. And I actually found the recording. Somebody had bootlegged it and made an actual album called The Pit Sessions out of my recording. And when I listened to it, I told my wife at the time, I was like, I think this might be the recording I made. And she's like, well, how do you know? I was like, listen, let's listen to this. And if the first thing you hear is the Misfits start to play, stop, and Glenn called the drummer a douche, this is my recording. Sure enough, there you go. It was my recording. You can even hear the two of us laughing in the background. So, I mean, I got to see the Misfits, just me and my friend, personal show, while they were writing in their process of writing some of their biggest hits. Oh, thank you. God bless you. 58. I am old enough. Yeah.
You were pretty young then.
I was. When I got into punk rock, and I'll tell you how I got into it, I didn't even know I had a half sister. When I was 13, I got a phone call early on a Sunday morning, and the woman on the other end goes, how can I speak to your dad, please? I was like, well, who's calling? Tell him it's his daughter. I was like, what you talking about, Willis? What? And me and my brother were never told that my dad was married before and had a daughter. You know, we were young, so my parents like kept it from us. And back in the day, when we first met her, she had grown up in Miami with her mom and grandmother. And she was friends with like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. And when she was 18, she connected with my dad. They hadn't talked in years. She's like, I'm coming up to New York City to see Led Zeppelin at the Garden. 76, 77. She's like, I'd like to meet you. So me and my dad went and we met her. And after that, I met her, like going, yes, I was just a kid. And I met her like when Pink Floyd were doing their Animals tour at the hotel. And she was staying at the same hotel as them. And the band was coming out to go to the limos for the show. And my half sister goes, hey, say hi to my family. And, you know, 3 guys in Pink Floyd wave and walk by. But Roger Waters comes over and kneels down and he's like, hey, what's your name? And shakes my hand. And, you know, I didn't realize how cool it was at the time, you know. The next time my sister would come up, she got into punk rock. It was around 79. And at that point, I realized she was a groupie. You know, that kind of, you know, I got to the age where, okay, yeah, I get it now. And she came up and she was following the Clash. And she had become really good friends with those guys. And the first punk rock show I ever saw was at Capitol Theater of the City. She got me a first row ticket for the Clash. And there was a spot that I was on like right next to the PA, loud as hell. I mean, already like it was going through my head and my ears were ringing. And I saw a spot like right in front of Joe Strummer right in the middle. So I was like, hey, I'm a kid, I'm going for this. And I just closed 5 people. I was like, I'm going back to my dad, he's right there. And I popped up right in front of Joe Strummer for the whole show. He's so close that when he sang, he was like spitting on me with spraying sweat, you know? It was like a baptism. C was for crazy and D was for dead. And it was the most perfect scheme because it was real. And we did a show one time at this place called the Sin Club. And I mean, this was the worst fucking neighborhood.
Avenue C.
Yeah, if you can imagine like the worst neighborhood in the world and then put it in a place where now there's like Starbucks on every block. And across from A7 was Tompkins Square Park, which they call Needle Park. And if you were in there, it's like it was only to buy drugs, sell drugs, or, you know, die. You know, and that club became like the breeding ground for our entire city. And so many of the people that were in that original 50 bunch of us became all the bands you know today, you know? And the whole New York hardcore scene happened because of that. Now, when that place shut down, we found CBGB's as, you know, CBGB's past the early punk era wasn't really doing much. You know, there was a span of like 79 to like 81 or 82 where CB's nobody gave a shit about them anymore. They started doing matinees. I think the original matinees were a Saturday afternoon, and then they changed it to a Sunday afternoon. And then that became like the place, you know, after the A7. CBGB's, I mean, we had so many great shows there. The first time I was ever there, I booked his band. I used to manage a band that Jack was in before A&B called the East Patterson Boys Choir. And I booked them on a Monday night audition night. And I was probably 14 or 13 when I booked them into this. And I remember being on the phone, like, hello, I'd like to book a band. In a really deep voice. And then they gave us a show. We didn't get the audition, you know, we didn't pass the audition. We didn't get a show after that. But
You also got us the show at the Clifton City Picnic.
that show was epic. In my hometown, we had a yearly event where all the families in my city come out. They have bands. You know, I booked the East Patterson Boys Choir. When we get there, and there's like families sitting on towels, you know, and everybody's hanging out. We get up to the stage there, it's like one of those mobile stages, and they have microphones set up in a row. It was pretty fucking obvious they were expecting a boys' choir and not a punk rock. And when we start loading up the stuff on stage, the sound guy comes over to us. He's like, can I help you guys? Like, yeah, we're the East Paris Boys Choir. It's like, okay, we're the kids. And then and he sees me putting up a backdrop on front of the stage with the East Paris Boys Choir logo and a skull and crossbones. And he realizes, I'm not joking, we're the band, it's not a boys choir. And the dude's like freaking out. Like, the mayor is there, there's like all these families there. And he's like, listen guys, he's sweating. He's so nervous. He's like, please, promise me, whatever you do, don't swear. Don't swear. There's families there. And our guitar player, Tom, is like, sure, dude, no fucking problem. Now the guy's really got through the set. The only thing that happened was the people in the crowd kept yelling out, play Freebird! We got through it, yeah. Oh, let's talk about the plasma. WFMU with Pat Duncan show was a really big influence.
College station here, that was the only influence.
That was it. And really, I mean, you never heard this music on mainstream radio. Like, guess what? The Feederz gonna play it. Oh, awesome! I get to see the Feederz. This show, and when I tell you this is nuts, it's an understatement. All right, the singer comes out. Now, the Gilman Street Warehouse, Maximum Rock and Roll, is a very liberal hotbed of argument and debate. The singer of the Feederz comes out. He's bald. He's got live cockroaches glued to his head upside down, and all their legs are going like this. Like about half a dozen of them. And I'm just starting. He's got a dead dog wrapped around his collar, and a dead cat hanging on a noose, also hanging off him. He starts the show by saying to the crowd, hey everybody, Lassie's come home, and he throws the dog into the mosh pit. Right off the bat, people are losing their fucking minds, dude. And like girls are coming on stage and they're taking the mic from them and they're trying to like, yeah, this is so wrong, which turned into like an argument, a debate, and then beer and water getting thrown on people. They're just starting off, man. They bring out now Jello Biafra's ex-wife, Nachka, at the time had left Jello for the singer of the Feederz, cleaned out his bank account, and she moved in with him. And so Jello was, he had been good friends with this guy, and he really screwed him over. Jello came to see us. I don't think he knew the Feederz were playing. And he certainly didn't know they were going to call his wife up to do a song with him. And I remember like Jello walking out of the place in tears, leaving, and he didn't stay around for us. Now, the finale of this thing was like on stage, they had a giant wicker basket with a top on it. And it was just, nobody knew what the fuck was going on. And I think the last song they did was called Basket Case. And they took the lid off the basket, and there's a guy who's physically challenged in a wheelchair, spitting and sputtering, and he's doing all this shit while they play. And then it's like, it was just too much.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody got on stage.